welcome to a very special episode of Chase Your Dreams, where dreams become reality. With everything that's going on in the world and in our communities right now, we felt it very important to have a very unique perspective on some of the things that's going on in society. We're here joined with Rayshawn Walker, who is a federal law enforcement employee that's going to talk with us about those things that's going on from her personal perspective as a federal law enforcement employee. Hi, Rayshawn. Welcome
Hi,
to the
Lawrence.
show.
Thank you.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. The weather's perfect right now, unless you like it really hot. I like it kind of cool. So
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. I'm going to start off the questions. Wanted to find out, we're going to have you talk about two different things, careers, and then we're going to also talk about some of the underlying issues going on.
okay.
Can you tell us what are some available opportunities for someone who's seriously thinking about becoming a federal law enforcement employee?
So there are a ton of different careers that you can choose from in federal law enforcement. I will first say figure out what your passion is or where you think you want to start, but don't limit it, because a lot of times I think people misunderstand and think that it's all about just criminal justice or that type of thing. And it can be accounting, it can be dual language, it can be something in the medical field, because you have to understand in federal law enforcement, we also in different agencies have like almost different little cities where you need everything. You need an accountant, you need a doctor, you need a teacher. So there are a lot of different careers that you can go into. So some of them I'll name, like the one that everybody probably pretty much knows is FBI agent, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Then there's also Homeland Security. Homeland Security used to be Border Patrol and Customs, two different agencies. They've now combined, and we like to say in the federal family that they've married. And so now those two entities have become one. Then you also have Secret Service. Everybody knows kind of about that, the guys that protect the president and the senators and so forth. But there's several other ones that you can, IRS has an entity that has federal law enforcement in it. Social Security has an entity that has federal law enforcement. The United States Postal Office has, postal agents. So I could go on and on. Any federal agency will have some form of law enforcement in it.
Wow. That has like opened up my eyes to so many things. Every government institution I'm looking at now I'm going to look at differently. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so many opportunities. So what type of person would you say should consider a job in the Federal Bureau?
So I think that the most important thing to me personally is public service. I think that you have to remember that first and foremost, you're a public servant. And the way I look at it is the public trusts you. Yes, you take an oath to uphold, the Constitution of the United States of America, but more importantly, you are a public servant, and the public has placed a special trust in you. So you have to keep that at the forefront. And especially now with all that's going on in the communities, where there's, it's almost this, you have to be either you're for law enforcement or you're against it, and I just don't think that that's correct. I think that the most important thing is you have to be willing to be a public servant, because that's really what you are at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so great to hear that you and others that work with you come at it from that perspective as, being, of service to the community. What type of special training or education is generally necessary to be a federal law enforcement officer?
So my experience has been that most of us either have a higher education in, college and so forth, or have come from military service. In my case, both. So there are and those two marry in different ways. Like you have people that serve in the reserves or the National Guard, and then they come into federal service as federal law enforcement officers. Or you have people that go the straight path of going to undergraduate school, graduate school, and some PhDs even, depending on what they want to do in the agency. Because like I talked about earlier, psychologists, a lot of them are, they're doctors. They go on to get their PhDs before they come into government service.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Rayshawn, let me ask you this. There's a little confusion about the difference between local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. Can you kind of clarify the difference in the two?
Sure. So the easiest way for me to describe in layman's terms to people is that federal law enforcement is just that. They regulate the federal laws and regulations of the land. So we can go and practice in any state. So if I transferred from Illinois to California, Texas, Wisconsin, the federal laws are the same. And I would administer them exactly the same. The regulations and the guidelines don't change because it's a federal law. But for state and local law enforcement, it is decided by the state, by the governor of the state. What is the law of the land? So in the state of Illinois, of course, that's Governor J.B. Pritzker. He tells them what is, in the state of Illinois, what is law. And so you have the Illinois State Police, you have Department of Children and Family Services. All of those are state-ran entities and agencies. And then you've got local law enforcement where you're talking about county. Cook County is one, McHenry County is another, Kane County, and that's kind of where you get the different sheriffs from. You've got your county law enforcement, which each county has their own, or there are some counties I'm guessing that may intersect because it might be a smaller county, and so it may encumber two different counties into one. But typically the county does that, just their area. The state does just the state of Illinois. Federal law enforcement officers, we go anywhere across the United States and U.S. territories.
Wow, thank you for explaining that. But you federal employees you got some work out for
big
you.
territory together.
Yes.
Wow. So if someone was looking into getting into this type of career, how would you find jobs that are available?
So it's so interesting because back when I started a long time ago, it wasn't, there was no internet, you just go click a button and kind of find jobs. Now you've got usajobs.com. Okay. And it gives you every federal agency and what jobs they have posted and what are available right now today.
Interesting. A lot easier.
So aside from time, what sort of personal investment do you feel that you've had to make in order to become a federal agent?
So I think that you give of your time for the good of the country, but you also you're like any other working parent. You're away from your family sometimes. Depends on what the mission is, months at a time. Wow. It's kind of like military. So what we call a tour of duty, you may go somewhere else to assist. So for example, when there are games, I'm trying to think the games where they play where the Olympics, or so when they have the Junior Olympics or the Olympic Games in one of the states, a lot of federal officers will go and help secure and serve in that arena, even if you may be from a different state. So that's an example of where you'd go TDY. You'd go on a tour of duty, and you'll be there the entire time that the games are going on.
Wow! Hopefully, you get free tickets as well.
well, you're working, so you're pretty much there. So
yes,
that sounds like a perk.
That's a nice
I like
perk,
that one.
Right?
Yeah.
Some fringe benefits at the Olympics.
Yeah, but while you're working, you really can't enjoy it because you got to keep your eyes on the on the prize. So
That's true.
Maybe, I probably have to focus.
Right.
Yeah,
do your job.
Maybe
focus elsewhere.
Maybe I wouldn't be too good at that one.
Same.
Hey, Rayshawn, let me ask you this before we go to break. If there's someone out there right now who is really serious about trying to get into federal law enforcement, what advice or direction would you give them right now?
So I would say, again, to me, the most important thing is be willing to be a public servant. The second thing is your integrity has to be beyond reproach, which means you have to be a public servant 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, even when no one else is watching. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about integrity. You know, people think that, oh, anybody can do the job. Maybe not, because you have to give up a lot of who, you know, your personal self for the greater good. And if you're not willing to do that, then this might not be a career choice that you might want to make.
That is very great advice. Well, everyone, do not go anywhere. We're going to go to a quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're into our next segment with our guest, our special guest, Rayshawn Walker. And in this segment, we're going to actually talk about some things that are going on right now in our communities. Welcome back again, Rayshawn.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the tension that's going on right now between law enforcement and the community right now?
So this is a question that weighs heavy on my heart because I've been in federal law enforcement for almost 27 years now, and this is the worst that I've ever seen it. Clearly, the public trust has been broken, and as a law enforcement community, we need to do a better job of rebuilding that trust. But the other thing is the community has to be honest about some things that are going on in the community as well. They know better than anybody who are the perpetrators and the key players in their neighborhoods. And without their help, there's no way that law enforcement, whether it's state, county, local, or federal, will be able to do an effective job because they live amongst their peers every day, and they know what's going on in their communities every day. So, you know, to turn a blind eye or act like it's not happening, and then, you know, when the police come in, say, you know, it's just so combative, that's just not fair either. So we've got to have some real honest conversations on both ends, in my opinion.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, everyone would love to see that happen, for sure. So why do you think that the violence has gotten so bad? Like, it seems that we're seeing that like on a daily basis.
So I don't know. I think about that question as well. And I contemplated, and I think on one hand, I understand a lot of it as far as not having, you know, the jobs and so forth. But we have to be honest. I didn't grow up in the best neighborhoods. You know, I grew up in the city of Chicago, on the west side of Chicago, and being poor or living in poverty did not make me a criminal. So I want to be very clear about that because you live in a poor neighborhood or you don't have the best environment does not give you a license to become a criminal or to become violent. Yes, angry, but not violent. You know, I'm all for the peaceful protest. I'm all, because that is your right as a citizen of the United States of America. And I'm never telling anyone not to practice their right. But when you start looting and rioting and the violence, it's so disheartening because they're not hurting anyone but the people that live in their own communities. I mean, at the end of the day, the politicians or the people that they're trying to reach, they don't live in those communities. So them burning down the Walgreens won't affect them. You know, so that's why it's disheartening because, you know, I know how difficult it is to live in an area where there aren't grocery stores and then to have to try to figure out how do you get there. And if you don't have a vehicle and you're afraid to get on the bus or you don't have money to get on the bus, if you had your local market that you could walk to or your community store, mom pop shop, sure. But if you burn it down or you tear it down, now you have nothing. You know, so I don't know what the answer is to this violence, but I know that it has to stop, that we've got to but we have to really listen to what each other is saying and not, you know, the thing is people say we don't talk about race. We've been talking about it a lot. Now it's time to actually do something about it.
Yeah.
So this topic is, you know, very emotional for a lot of people. What do you think, both on the law enforcement side and on the public side, we can do to improve the relationship? Like, what could I do today to improve the relationship?
So on the law enforcement side, I say, you know, let's go back and restore. I like to tell law enforcement officers, period. Just remember that first day when you took your oath of office, whatever oath you took, when you held up your right hand and you said your public oath of office, that you would swear to uphold, you would not tarnish your badge, whatever the oath was, and how that made you feel that day, and what you were in effect taking on as a career and a life choice. That's the first thing. I think if you go back to that, that very first rookie officer, you're just starting, and you're kind of scared, but you kind of know you need to do what you need to do. But I think you walk a little lighter because you're just starting. So you don't have you're not jaded, so to speak, because you don't have all of the preconceived notions and so forth, because you're just starting your job. So that's the first thing I would say to law enforcement. Remember that what oath you took, and remember what it meant and what it means still today. That's the first thing. And as far as community, I need them to remember that we're human beings too. We want to go home just like you do every day. And when we come into the community to do a job, or if you come into an area where we are and encounter us, we're not superhuman. You know, we need to, in effect, do a job. But it works both ways. You don't have to be rude and disrespectful on either end. You can talk to each other like people. And I think that will curb it a lot. You know, now, am I in a bubble and think that there aren't any bad officers? Absolutely not. But am I in a bubble and think that there aren't absolutely some antagonists in the community? Absolutely not.
Rayshawn, let me ask you this. I was actually watching the news when, when the heat of the violence really kind of rose. And there was a group of gentlemen that got interviewed by a news reporter. And it was interesting what they said. They asked them, well, why are you guys burning down buildings and doing this and looting and all this? And it was very interesting when one of them said, we know this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. But, for so many years, we've been saying, listen to us. This is what's going on. Why did it take us having to burn buildings down and loot for you to listen to us? What do you say to those young people that, because there's a lot of people that feel that way?
Yes, absolutely. And I understand, Lawrence, let me be very clear. I understand their anger. I understand exactly how they feel. And what they're feeling is, I'll go ahead and say it, what they're feeling is, until we start attacking some of your property or causing you some pain, then it's not an issue. Because as long as we're telling you about it and telling you about it and nothing's happening, it's like it's falling on deaf ears. But now that things have started to burn in the Gold Coast and on the north side of Chicago and in areas where there are prominent people living, now it matters. And what I say to that question or to that comment is that's not right. You should be listening to people's pain. You should. Again, you are a public servant. Whether I'm serving on the north side of Chicago, the west side, or the south side of Chicago, my level of service should be the same. And we know that it has not been.
True. Very, very true.
So there have been some, I guess one of the solutions thrown out there is that additional training for officers would be helpful. Do you feel that that would help solve the problem, or do you think that it's deeper than just, career development?
So that kind of really is, I guess it could potentially help the situation, but that to me is a cop-out. Because you cannot teach or train humanity and to teach people with public decency. So again, I think that the first thing that you need to do is go back to help and making sure that officers understand when you enter into a law enforcement career, you are a public servant first. That is your first order of business. Now, does that mean you don't do your job? Absolutely not. If there's a bad guy out there and we need to arrest him, we need to arrest him. But does that give us the right to be the judge and jury in the street or in public opinion because they don't have blind obedience? Absolutely not. It's no different than if you tell, any of us that have raised a teenager and you tell a teenager, clean up your room. They may do it. They may kind of meddle around. It may take them 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Eventually they'll do it. And they may do it mumbling, grumbling, saying things under their breath, but they're still doing it. We have to, as parents, we have to exercise patience, and we have to wait and give them the opportunity and then talk to them about why that's not acceptable. It's no different, in my opinion, when you're in the street. If you're dealing with a criminal or you're trying to arrest someone and they're being belligerent and acting a fool, I often say the bar doesn't lower. I set the bar high, and either you come up to where I am with the bar, raising the bar, or I walk away from the situation and I live to fight another day. But what I'm not gonna do is stand in the street and scream, holler, curse you out, jump on your neck, especially when, let's talk about some of these situations, when you have a traffic stop. How does a traffic stop equate to someone being dead? That does not make any sense. You know who the person is. You know what kind of vehicle they're driving. If it gets so heated, walk away, call for some backup. But you don't shoot people as they're running away. You're gonna make them do what you say do. Really? You know, that I just don't understand that line of thinking. And I don't think that training can really do. I think the biggest thing you need to train and remember is you are a public servant. The public puts a trust in you and they pay you to provide a service. All people of color, you know, Asian, Latina, African American, Caucasian, they should all get the same service, period. And if you remember that first, I think a lot of this will go away. But the fact of the matter is they don't want to say that. They want to say, keep saying, well, training. When were you ever trained to treat people poorly?
Yes. It's so great to hear you say that. I love hearing a law enforcement officer say those words. Somehow that means something to me.
Let me tell you, you would be surprised. There are a lot of us that feel exactly the same way. And a lot of us are having those conversations. And I don't know what the thing is, like why people don't want to say it publicly, but shame on you. You should be willing to say it publicly.
Now, do you think that you said that sometimes, you know, there have definitely been plenty of instances where people are reacting over the top.
Irrationally. Yeah,
irrationally. So do you think that maybe not so much training, but supplemental, even like psychiatric help or some sort of therapy that should be a regular thing? Just because, I mean, you guys are dealing with it, intense stuff. Like, you know, do you have people to talk to?
So there, from what I understand, each agency has different personnel that officers can go and talk to. Now, honestly, you know, it's a predominantly male agency, most of them, and it's just, you know, male perspective. They're not going to easily go and talk to someone about what they perceive as an emotional issue, because men don't think that they're emotional by trade. And that's when I think that female law enforcement officers play a key role, because, you know, we're very in tune with that. We're still female. We're still emotional. And not that guys aren't, but I think we're a little bit more in tune with who we are as women. So I think if we start to be open and honest and kind of talk to them about it, doesn't mean that they'll take it, but at least if we recognize it in each other. It's kind of like suicide prevention. If you know, like it used to be a thing 20 years ago, you didn't ask somebody if they were thinking about suicide because, the thought was they might commit suicide. Well, we now know that's not true. If they are thinking about it and you ask them about it, they might be willing to talk to you about it. And you potentially could save their life. So I think it's a changing of your mindset more than just training, of understanding that everybody in the, you know, just because you live in a certain zip code doesn't mean that you're a criminal. Or because the color of your skin does not make you a criminal. And you should interact with each person like a person.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, before we close out this segment, you know, again, I want to thank you for coming on. But I wanted to ask you, if you had set a law enforcement individual and a member of the community of color, to be very specific, next to each other, what would you say to them? And an example I would give is, as being a person of color myself, I've never been arrested, never had any trouble with the law. I actually have multiple members that are in law enforcement, but still, sometimes when I'm driving and a cop nears me, I still get this anxiety.
Uneasy
You know what I
feeling.
mean? And you know, people are talking about the talk and this and that. And in our community, we've been doing this for generations. This is not something new.
Absolutely.
What would you say to those two individuals? Because there is a little bit of an uneasiness. Because
Absolutely.
and don't get me wrong, we all know that there are a lot of great cops out there.
Absolutely.
But that reality is, just like my son, you know, I fear for him when he gets behind the wheel, because all it takes is one bad officer.
Yep.
And it could become a tragedy. And that's reality. That's my reality, and the reality of, you know, let's face it, people of color.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, what would advice, or what would you, you know, kind of say to maybe help go in the direction of healing that type of situation?
So the first thing I would say, Lawrence, is I would ask if both members could try to have an open mind, because you only know the experiences that you've had. So I'm so grateful that you mentioned the fact that you have not had that experience personally, and that you do have family members that are in law enforcement. So I mean, yeah, you might get a little uneasy, but can you imagine a person that has been incarcerated and gotten released and is now walking the straight and narrow and actually going to work every day, and he gets pulled over by the cops and his level of anxiety goes through the roof, and then they think he must be guilty because he's nervous. Well, of course he's nervous. One, he's of color. Two, he has a criminal history. Three, this time he's not doing anything, but he's scared to death. And I think those are the type of conversations that we need to have. And that's what I mean by we have to have some real honest conversations with both the community and with law enforcement. And, you know, of course you'll hear Caucasian cops, specifically male, say, I don't know that experience. I've never experienced racism in that regard. And my answer to that is, and you will not, because your privilege will not allow you to. One, you are a white male in America. Two, you are in law enforcement in America. So let's be honest about what really happens in America. And until we are honest about it, then we can't move past it.
This has been such a great segment, and I'm so sad we're running out of time here, but we do want to thank you for coming on. You gave us some great insights, some great conversations, and we definitely welcome you back to the show as well too.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so happy to be able to have the dialogue and to talk about it, because I think that is so important, and that's the only way that we're going to heal as a country as a whole.
I agree. Well, everyone, please don't go away. We will be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Chase Your Dreams, the place where dreams become reality. We are here with the wonderfully talented, the fantastic big group all over here that everyone's talking about, Mixed Kid Fridays.
Yes.
Welcome, guys, to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? Nice to hear that everyone's talking about us. That's great. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm spreading the word Midwest. Don't worry.
Thank you. Love the Midwest.
Appreciate that.
Lived in Chicago for 5 years. Love the Midwest.
Ah, nice.
There you go.
Oh.
Tom, what is going on with your hair, man? That's my question to you, bro. Oh my God.
Well, the tips are green. The tips are green, and that's probably throwing the light off. And then I have like 7 or 8 severe cowlicks and there's no amount of product that can get rid of it. So
Severe colic.
It looks intentional. I love it.
Yeah, it looks great.
Personally.
Looks like you did it personally to me, so, you know, it looked good.
I think people think that I'm going for a mohawk, and I'm literally just letting my hair do what it does. Like, this is how it looks.
Fantastic.
Well, guys, I want to start off by asking, how long have you guys been together?
We've been together for exactly 3.5 years now. Early 2017, Dominic and I started the band in a studio apartment. Started writing songs. Do you want to elaborate, Dom?
Yeah, so we met living in the same building. It was in near Koreatown in LA. We were living in the same building, and I was leaving for a different show that I had. Calvin saw that I had a guitar, and he was like, "Oh, you're a musician." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what the guitar means." And we started hanging out, and we started writing songs. And if you really want the whole long story, I was in a band years ago before this band with Isaac and Gil. They were in another band that I was part of. And so when Calvin and I started writing songs and we thought that maybe there was something there, I was like, well, I know these dudes that can play really well. So let's call them up and see if they want to play. That's the short version of it. I don't want to waste all the time going into like every detail, but yeah, we've just, it felt, it was organic. It fell together pretty like naturally.
Very true.
Well, and that totally makes sense because obviously I've stalked you all and I've heard some of your music. And you sound so cohesive that it surprised me that you'd only had been together for 3 years. So that makes sense that you worked together prior to this.
It's very natural because with the way that we write, it shouldn't work. The math shouldn't work. Like Calvin grew up listening to like hardcore punk. I grew up listening to the Beatles and jazz music, and Gil and Isaac grew up listening to metal. And so when you put us in a room together and we jam, it shouldn't work, but it does.
It does.
That's awesome. So you guys met at your apartment complex, Calvin and Dom. So how about the rest of you guys?
So Gib and I we've been best friends since sixth grade.
Hey,
and
watch
we've
your
been
mouth.
playing music. Sorry. But yeah, we've been playing music together since about sixth grade, and yeah, it's been awesome. We've been in a lot of bands. Every time he's been in a project, he's brought me in. So as far as like the rhythm section goes, I mean, I'm a guitarist regularly, and he called me back from Arizona to join PCH with Dom. Long story short, here we are together again in this punk band, and yeah, basically we've always brought each other along each other's musical journeys, essentially.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun.
Wait, so you said you've been influenced by like the Beatles and metal and jazz. So right now, how would you describe your music that you make now?
I'd say we are post-punk, indie rock, and straight up punk rock like the Ramones and the Clash kind of punk rock.
Cool.
So,
like safety pin punk rock.
Yeah,
That's
safety
what
pin,
I
yeah.
think,
Plaid pants and safety pins.
Yes.
I like that.
I love it.
I think we also we don't have like an idea, like when we're going in writing a song or like having a new project or something, we don't have, it has to be this, it has to be that.
Yeah.
It's just whatever sounds good to us. So if it sounds really good and it doesn't fall into a certain category, like, well, who cares? This is what it sounds like.
Good.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's what we're writing.
So fun.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let me ask you this. What influences your music?
Oh, God.
Like writing?
To be very specific, what artists? In other words, what artists, kind of inspired you guys the music you play?
I know when we write, a lot of times I'll come up with like a riff and then bring in Dom, and then his influence comes in. But usually, I like to listen to new bands on Spotify, and I'm like, oh, this song sounds cool. I want to kind of write a similar song. But when it comes to bands, I'd say Bad Religion and The Germs are my biggest influence when it comes to writing riffs. And then Dom is the biggest Beatle fan you ever meet. Like, he knows everything about the Beatles.
I mean,
can play every
tattoo.
song.
I've got a blue
Yeah.
meaning on my arm.
Nice.
So then,
Awesome.
So then he comes in,
Commitment.
and then he makes it into a Beatles pop song, and then
And then they bring it to the metalheads, and that's where it gets funky, because we're metalheads, but at the same time, we're all into jazz and like all the funk and all this stuff. So it's literally we make it, they bring it to the most solid rhythm section ever. It's amazing.
So cool.
We just recently, we were recently asked to do this thing for this like online mag called No Cover, and they wanted us to cover the song. They wanted us to cover the song "Boats and Hope." It's Will Ferrell.
Really
and,
good. It's really good.
Yeah, but they wanted us to make it our own. They were like, just take this really stupid joke song and make it your own. And we were like, well, we only know how to do like. I don't even know what we know how to do. We took it and we were like, okay, so it's gonna have a really heavy chorus, and then we basically were like,
kind of
okay,
sounds like Caveman.
Yeah,
It's like
we were
that
sort of
verse.
like, let's make this sound like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, because like we don't know how to do hip hop, but we know how to do funk and like that kind of stuff. So we were like telling Gil, we were like, we don't know how the song's gonna go, but just play a drum beat like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then to Isaac, like, hey, play a bass line like Flea, and we just
Yeah,
like
which is
came up-
hard as hell. Super
Yeah,
hard.
he's
to do.
amazing.
I was just like, yeah, just play like Flea. I was like, okay, let me just do that all of a sudden out of nowhere. I was like, yeah.
Reach in the fire,
And I
man.
did it. No, like, you guys got to hear the song. If we can send it to him, that'd be awesome.
Well, the
Yeah.
biggest disappointment is that the song is so good that like we feel bad that we wasted it on Boats and Hoes
Boats
because
and
it would have been a good
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, that's true. Like we were like, oh man, if we had just given them a crappy one, we could have saved this for one that we wrote.
we were. Yeah.
Well,
I'd
that
love to
shows
hear
how
that.
good you guys are. If you can just, it's just like, hey, just play around, and then all of a sudden it's that good.
Yeah.
It was,
We,
it was
we
fun.
only had a day to do it, too, which was the best
Oh,
part.
wow.
Oh, wow.
We had 1
3
day
hours.
to do it,
I was
and
like,
we cranked it out in like 3 hours or something like
I
that.
think that's the best way to do things, though. Like when I was in college, man, like I would
Oh.
wait till the night before to do any assignment, and it came out being like an A+ assignment because I had like no time to get it done. You know?
Yeah, you had to just focus. I was the exact same way.
Yeah.
100%.
Procrastination helps sometimes.
Procrastinators.
Yes, unite. Now, okay, so you guys kind of collaborated with this magazine. They had you like, they inspired an idea, a start of a song. Now, is there anyone that you'd like to collaborate, like other musicians?
oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, there's a lot.
Like a new thing that's going on right now is like hip hop and punk rock are mixing into worlds. And there's this new artist called Nate Flood from San Diego, and he wants to collab with us, and that would be a cool collab because he does like kind of like trap, but like with punk rock flair. So and kind of other kind of yeah. So
That's a realistic goal. If you guys are asking like a Make-A-Wish
Oh yeah,
program,
like anything,
Yeah,
like
like-
anyone in the
Oh,
world. Yeah.
like, well, Paul McCartney's still alive, so I mean, I would take that.
Yeah.
Yes.
The band that I find like the when I say that is like current, like because obviously there's so many people that are still around, but like the band that I draw most influence from that's still like being really productive is Arctic Monkeys. And if I could ever collaborate with Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys on just a few lyrics, just so he could like edit my notes, that would be a dream come true.
He is amazing. Yeah.
Could proofread for you.
Isaac,
Yeah.
do you have anyone?
He's the editor.
What's up?
Isaac, do you have anyone that you'd want to collaborate with?
Man, there's a lot of people, but unfortunately, the style of music that we play wouldn't be the kind of music that would be able to collaborate with them. Again, I am
That's awesome.
super metalhead. I mean, I'd love to play with like Pierce the Veil or something like that. That'd be like the closest thing I could even think of is like Pierce the Veil or like Dance Gavin Dance. Just because those guys are the way they put on the show and their stage performance. Like the music's good. Don't get me wrong, the music's great, but it's all about the show you put on. And I think if you guys have seen any of our live performances or anything that we've done, you can obviously see that I take a lot of pride in my stage performance. I jump off of every damn thing
yes,
that I
you
can
do.
find on the stage. I will flip my guitar and I will do it all. And, I'd love to have that same energy to just be able to play alongside them, essentially, Like,
Well,
it'd be
even
great
our-
to just be able to co-headline a show or open for them.
even our acoustic show
awesome.
yesterday, you were headbanging and sitting down. He was
I
headbanging.
know.
Like
I'm playing acoustically.
Talent.
My hat comes off, because I just want to get up and jump. Like I have all this energy when I play. And that's the thing is you don't find a lot of bands that have that. They don't. They put out
loud.
great music, but their live sucks.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's
that's what we're known for. We
And
won 2019 Must See Band from the VCMA's Ventura County Music Awards because we put on such a great live show. So we won that award. That's a big award to win.
Yeah.
And the truth
We played,
about it is, it's sometimes
we have to go to
funny.
the
Just
church.
like we'll play a small venue to a crowd that's not necessarily like. I mean, it'll be a good show, but the amount of energy we're putting into the room, they're just like, "What are you? You're gonna die! Like, what are you doing?" Yeah.
Ben Harper specifically from
Yeah.
Yellow Card. He was like, "Don't put all your energy into this." And we played a show like we always play a show.
Oh man, he told
we
us.
ended up putting on a show 5 hours later.
Yeah.
5 hours later, after playing basically like 7 shows, and we still jumped
Have
around
the
and
energy,
we brought it.
yeah.
But like,
I still have a blood
God,
blister.
That was
I
probably
still have
the
a blood
most
blister on my
painful thing
finger
that we've ever
from
had
that
to do.
show.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah.
It's
Like that.
intense.
It was the most painful thing ever.
And he was telling us, he's like, don't waste your energy on the rehearsal. And we were like, well, we don't know how to rehearse without doing it. So
Yeah,
like,
so-
Hey, if you can keep it
it was 5
going.
hours.
Yeah.
Right.
And this
So
is
you
a
guys
fake
are
tape, by the way, just so you know. Yeah,
Wait, so
lots
you
of things
guys
have happened.
are doing like live shows right now. Is there any new music that you're also working on?
A
Yes.
whole new record,
Always, yeah.
Really?
Or an entire album, actually.
entire album.
Yeah, our producer just
We
got a gig
really
in
good tracks
Chicago.
in Africa.
Yeah.
Our producer just got a gig in Chicago with it's a studio that has a living space, and so he told us that we have to come to Chicago and spend a week just writing and recording nonstop all day, every day.
Yeah.
So that's like what's on the horizon.
So we're gonna be coming to Chicago.
Hey.
Awesome. We'll bring you lunch.
Yeah, let's do a live show from your
That would be
studio.
awesome.
Al's Italian beef.
Hey, we can. If we can play the studio, that would be awesome. We can do a live gig at the studio.
Oh my gosh.
We
that'd
would be
amazing.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you guys are open to that, we definitely do that.
Oh,
No problem.
absolutely.
Yeah. Write that down, Lawrence. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Write
yeah.
it down.
Put it on the schedule.
From the fridge.
Yeah.
I tell you one thing, we had so much fun with you guys today.
Thank you.
Before we
Thank
go,
you.
do me a favor, tell everyone how can they follow you on social media, and more importantly, how can they purchase your music?
You can follow us the Mix Kid Fridays, everything. So Instagram /Mix Kid Fridays, Instagram Mix Kid Fridays. We own the name for every social media we are on.
Nice.
You
Nobody
can buy
else
our
wants the
music.
name, so it's
Yeah, you
It was
can buy
really
our
easy.
music on Amazon, iTunes, anywhere music's sold. You can stream our music anywhere music's streamed. Even if you go to a bar and there's like those jukeboxes, those digital ones, you can find our music on there. So
Nice.
Oh,
yeah,
you
you
can
can find
find
it
a bar
anywhere,
now.
everywhere. And then we
I
have
haven't
lots
gone
of
to a
music videos
bar
coming out.
lately, but once I
Yeah.
do,
But
once
when
this
you
pandemic's
do,
over,
When you do, though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, honestly, we don't even care about the royalties. Just go on YouTube and watch it. We just want people listening, you know?
Yeah, our royalties go back into shirts. Oh, you can buy merch through our Bandcamp account. So yeah, and then we'll have physical, actual vinyl records for sale soon. We have shirts right now. We might have face masks probably in about a week for sale off our Bandcamp.
I owe one to my nephew. My nephew decided to go back to school, and he has a shirt that he can wear. But I was like, oh, you need the mask.
yeah.
The shirts are really
Sure.
cool. I like the design is awesome.
Thank
Oh,
you.
we all
Leo
stalked you.
Tyra, our characters.
We all stalked you.
Yeah, that's Will. That's Will. He's our design guy. He does a lot of like all of the animations we've had in music videos and all that kind of stuff. He's really creative and really talented. So
Yeah,
that all
he's really
all
good.
credit goes to him
Yeah.
on
Shout
that
out
one.
Will. Woo.
Yeah.
Very
So many
good.
great collaborations going on.
And shout out to Gil for not being
Showing
there. We
up
love you,
here.
Gil.
Yeah. The drummer, man.
Yeah, we love you,
Hey,
Gil.
That's what drummers do.
Well, I don't know what it's next time you guys come back. How's that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, yesterday we went out to eat before our show, and he came 45 minutes late.
Yeah.
It's
They all
actually
ordered
my
everything.
birthday today, so that's why they all came up a little
Yeah.
early.
Yeah, your birthday. Oh yeah, happy birthday,
Yeah.
Isaac.
Happy
Oh
birthday.
yeah, happy birthday.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
happy
Happy birthday.
It's my golden birthday today.
Yep,
Oh.
29.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's a golden birthday, so I'm
You
actually
want to
really
close
good
out
at
here
it,
from there, right?
Are you doing anything exciting?
yeah, my girlfriend and I are actually going up to Slow, and we're gonna go and hang out and enjoy the day.
Nice. Awesome. And it's on a Saturday? Like, yeah, it's a good birthday.
Yeah.
Hi, girlfriend.
Well, thank you guys again for coming out to
Thank
the show. We
you.
had so much fun. And don't forget to let us know when you're in town, okay? We're serious. We're definitely going to get
Yeah,
together.
definitely.
Yeah.
We'll definitely let you guys know when we're out there.
All
And
right,
hopefully we
man.
can
Thank
set
you so
something
much
up.
for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
coming on board.
Thank
Well,
you.
everyone
So
else,
fun.
don't go away. We will be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Chase Your Dreams. Thank you so much for joining us on this very, very important topic. Talking about careers and federal law enforcement, and also the things that's going on in our community. It's one of these conversations that really needed to come to the forefront, and I'm glad that we were able to participate in this conversation.
And a big thank you to Rayshawn Walker for coming on the show. I'm so grateful that we were able to hear that perspective. and that side of the conversation.
Yes, very much agree. And thank you so much, Mixed Kid Fridays, for that fun interview. Can't wait to listen to your new album. And for our online audience, we will be seeing you on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and check out our latest episodes at Chase Your Dreams TV, and just do season 1, and then episodes 1 through 4 are currently out.
Also, if you would like to get to know us a little bit better, we all take turns on Instagram. So check us out, Chase Your Dreams TV on Instagram.
And again, remember, tune in to watch us. If you have some ideas for people that we should be talking to, remember that you can email us. Very easy to remember, chaseyourdreamstv@gmail.com. Again, thank you for watching Chase Your Dreams, the place where dreams become reality. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.